Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. It was a bright morning at New York's International Airport. The first-class cabin was calm, almost silent, except for the soft murmur of passengers settling in. Monica Hayes, a flight attendant for several years, was known for her meticulousness, but also for her sometimes sharp temper and her impatience when she felt rushed. That day, she had to manage a particularly busy flight, with demanding and impatient passengers. Among them was Derek Johnson, a man in his 50s, elegant in his tailored suit, who wore a calm but penetrating expression. He seemed to be observing every detail, mentally noting every gesture, every movement in the cabin. As Monica walked by with her drinks cart, Derek asked her for a particular coffee, prepared exactly to his liking, with meticulous precision. Monica, already exasperated by the long day and the stress of the flight, lost her temper. In a sudden movement, she dumped the cup of scalding coffee directly onto Derek's face. Pain and surprise made Derek flinch, but he remained perfectly silent, his eyes shining with a mixture of disbelief and cold determination. Monica, panicked and ashamed, expected screams or a public scene. But Derek didn't react like a mere passenger. What she didn't know was that Derek Johnson wasn't an ordinary traveler. Behind his unassuming exterior hid the airline's owner, an influential man who secretly inspected his flight service. The anger and humiliation Monica had just provoked would soon backfire on her in ways she could never have imagined. The scalding coffee had splashed onto Derek Johnson's face, and the acrid smell of the spilled liquid filled the air. The first-class passengers turned in shock to Monica, who stood there frozen, unable to find a word. Derek stood up slowly, his suit slightly stained by coffee, and his eyes met Monica's with icy intensity. Every gesture he made seemed measured, calculated, and Monica felt her heart race. She knew she had just made a grave mistake, but she didn't know the magnitude of what she had unleashed. "Miss Hayes," said Derek in a low but firm voice, "I suppose you realize what you've just done?" Monica stammered, confused and embarrassed. I'm sorry, sir, it was an accident. I didn't mean to." Derek took a step toward her, and the silence in the cabin became almost palpable. The other passengers held their breath, sensing that something serious was about to happen. But instead of shouting or getting angry, Derek offered a faint, cold smile. "An accident, you say?" he repeated, almost to himself. "Curious. I would have said it was a choice rather than an accident." Monica felt a shiver run down her spine. She didn't yet know that this man had the power to influence her career, her reputation, and more. At that very moment, Derek had already begun to think about how he was going to turn the situation to his advantage, and karma was going to catch up with Monica faster than she could have imagined. The rest of the flight unfolded in oppressive silence. Monica avoided Derek's gaze, terrified and confused, while he observed her every gesture, every movement, noting every detail with chilling precision. She had thought a simple mistake would be overlooked, but Derek Johnson never let an injustice go unpunished, especially when it struck so personally. A few hours later, the plane began its descent toward London. Monica, still shaken by the incident, tried to concentrate on her tasks, but her mind kept returning to Derek. Every time she met his gaze, she felt a mixture of fear and guilt. Suddenly, a call came through from the cockpit. A minor technical issue had been detected, requiring immediate attention. Monica, rushing to help calm the passengers, tripped over the drinks cart she was pushing. The hot coffee, which had been left in an unsecured cup, spilled, this time all over herself, splashing her pristine white outfit and slightly burning her arm. The passengers who had witnessed the scene a few hours earlier couldn't help but whisper amongst themselves, some exchanging knowing glances. Monica felt a surge of shame. She thought that if only Derek hadn't been there, perhaps this moment would have been forgotten, but fate seemed to have other plans. Derek, who was passing by to check something on her seat, couldn't help but smile. "Life seems to have a peculiar sense of humor," he murmured. His soft, calm voice resonated in Monica's mind like a warning. She realized then that she wouldn't escape the lesson that was about to unfold. But the real turning point came as the plane landed. Derek, still impassive, stood up and calmly announced to the staff. "Miss Hayes, it seems to me you need a little chat about your behavior." Monica felt her heart stop. She had no idea that this simple accident would not only jeopardize her career but also turn her entire life upside down. Karma, it seemed, had just struck, and this was only the beginning. After landing, the passengers began to leave the plane, some casting curious glances at Monica, who stood there, still trembling and flushed with embarrassment. Derek remained seated for a few moments, observing the scene with an almost supernatural calm. Then he stood up, slowly approached Monica, and placed a hand on her shoulder. His voice, firm but measured, echoed in the now empty cabin. "Monica Hayes, you think your actions go unnoticed. Let me enlighten you." Monica looked up, confused and terrified. "Sir. I don't understand," she stammered. Derek took out a small leather wallet and pulled out a card which he showed her. On it was written, "Derek Johnson, owner, Johnson Airlines." The shock hit Monica like a thunderclap. The man she had humiliated and burned in her impatience was no ordinary passenger. He was the owner of the airline she served every day, the man whose opinion could decide her future. Derek continued, in a calm but sharp tone. "I often travel incognito to observe the behavior of my staff. You, Monica, have just given me an excellent reason to review your professionalism and your respect for passengers." Monica, unable to speak, felt a knot of guilt and fear growing inside her. Every mistake, every rude gesture, every impatient word now seemed to weigh heavily on her future. She understood that this was not just a lesson for her, but a stark warning about how she treated others. Derek, by way of conclusion, added, "Karma works fast, Monica. You've just experienced that. But it's never too late to learn and change." That phrase echoed in Monica's mind as she stepped off the plane, her face still burned, but her heart heavy with accomplishments. She knew that her career and reputation would now depend on every action she took. And above all, she would never forget the man she had humiliated, and the lesson he had just taught her. The days that followed were a true nightmare for Monica Hayes. Her impulsive and disrespectful act had already spread throughout the airline staff thanks to Derek's story. Monica felt the weight of shame every time she passed her colleagues. But this time, she understood that fear alone wasn't enough, she had to act to redeem herself. Derek, true to his measured approach, didn't send her away immediately. Instead, he suggested a meeting at his office in Manhattan. Monica arrived, trembling, ready to hear anything. Derek greeted her with a calm but penetrating smile and handed her a file. "Monica, I'm not here to punish you, but to assess your ability to learn from your mistakes. Every action has consequences, especially in this profession where trust and respect are essential." Monica felt tears welling up, but nodded. "I understand. Mr. Johnson. I promise to change, and to do better." Derek nodded. "Good. You'll undergo extensive training in customer service and stress management. Then, I'll observe you again. Your behavior will determine your future with this company." The following weeks were intense. Monica participated in workshops, learned to manage pressure, to communicate with patience and respect, and to treat each passenger as a human being, regardless of their wealth or status. She discovered that true strength lies not in the power to humiliate, but in the ability to demonstrate empathy and professionalism. A month later, Derek boarded a flight to evaluate Monica. This time, he saw a transformed flight attendant, calm, attentive, and respectful. At the end of the flight, he gave her a simple smile and said, "Well done, Monica. You've learned your lesson." Monica smiled in turn, relieved but humble. She knew she had learned something that money or rank could never teach: respect, humility, and the awareness that every gesture, even the smallest, can have a huge impact. And as the plane landed under a golden sky, Monica felt for the first time that her past mistakes had been transformed into an opportunity to become better, thanks to a man who had chosen to turn anger into a life lesson.